What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlemania here, back with another video. Sometimes developmental talent will do just about anything to get their foot in the door of the WWE. Some may be used as security guards or during an entrance for a much more established star. Most of the wrestlers on this list appeared in the WWE well before they found mainstream success. Some of them, however, may have been overlooked, even to the most die-hard fan. In this video we look at 13 wrestlers who appeared in the WWE in a non-wrestling role, i.e. before they were famous. Number 1. Bobby Roode as a police officer. Bobby Roode has certainly travelled a long road in the wrestling business. In fact, a much younger Roode first appeared in the WWE in 2001 under the name Rudy Roode and wrestled a match with Perry Saturn. He also appeared in a non-wrestling role during a segment between Triple H and The Undertaker. Roode with others accompanied Triple H down to the ring as police officers. Fast forward to 2017, where Roode is now NXT champion and will hopefully be moving on to the main roster in the near future. Number 2. Jimmy Jacobs as a Rosebud. Some fans may not know that the person who came up with the list of Jericho was not Jericho himself, but former Ring of Honor resident Jimmy Jacobs, who has been a writer for the WWE since 2015. Shortly before becoming a writer, Jacobs made a cameo in the WWE as a member of Adam Rose's Exotic Express on an episode of Raw, and on that same week on SmackDown. Number 3. CM Punk as a fan and gangster. A battered body and backstage politics compelled CM Punk to finally step away from the world of wrestling in 2014. Winning multiple championships and gaining an enormous following, Punk started off humble in the WWE and used as an extra at WrestleMania 22 as one of John Cena's gangsters for his elaborate entrance. Whilst we're on the subject of Punk, this was not the first appearance in the WWE. Punk, alongside Mr. Kennedy and future TNA Knockouts champion ODB Jessica Caressa, were seen as fans of Brock Lesnar in a 2003 SmackDown segment. Number 4. Eli Drake as a security guard. I firstly want to thank Joe It's Sick on Twitter for finding this one. Thanks, man. Current TNA Impact wrestler Eli Drake is certainly on the rise in the wrestling world. Before his career in TNA, he worked briefly in the WWE in 2006, teaming up with Jon Moxley, and attempted again in 2014 but couldn't get past the Performance Center. He made a cameo appearance as a security guard during a segment between CM Punk and Kevin Nash on Raw in 2011. Number 5. Tye Dillinger as a Superkick victim. The Perfect 10 first started in the WWE in 2006 as plain old Stan, a backstage agent at the WWE Cyber Sunday pay-per-view. During this time, Shawn Michaels was going into a Superkick rampage, and one of his victims happened to be Tye Dillinger. Dillinger actually confirmed this on his Twitter several years later. Number 6. Sasha Banks, Charlotte and Alexa Bliss as Triple H's henchwomen. Eagle-eyed WWE fans pointed out that Sasha Banks and Charlotte made their WrestleMania debut 2 years before wrestling at one. Triple H's elaborate medieval entrance at WrestleMania 30 also included future women's champion Alexa Bliss, who would not go on to wrestle at WrestleMania until 3 years later. Number 7. The Young Bucks as D-Generation X. Real-life brothers Nick and Matt Jackson are currently the most sought-after tag team in wrestling today. In 2008, however, things were much different when they were brought into the WWE as extras to parody D-Generation X's Triple H and Shawn Michaels. The duo came out to the well-known theme on an episode of ECIII as guests to The Miz and Morrison's talk show The Dirt Sheet, complete with a plastic big nose and high-waisted jeans. The only thing out of place, however, was John Morrison having a vajazzle on his abs. Number 8. Wade Barrett and Sheamus as security guards. DX's return was one of the biggest storylines of 2006. Back were crotch chops and dirty innuendos as DX were wreaking havoc on the WWE again. So much so they were stopped from going into the ring by a number of security guards on an episode of Raw. Not just any guards though, a pre-Nexus Wade Barrett and a pre-Celtic warrior Sheamus. Not surprising that Sheamus fit the role, as he once used to be a bodyguard for the rock band U2. Number 9. CESARO and ECIII as police officers. The Swiss Superman Cesaro also made a cameo, but this time as a police officer protecting Shane McMahon in 2006. Sporting sideburns and a dashing moustache, he can be seen next to Ethan Carter III, who would go on to wrestle in NXT in 2010 under the ring name Derek Bateman, until his release in 2013. Number 10. Rob Van Dam as a fan. In 1987, the WWF's hottest heel was the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, who boasted about his vast fortune and on occasion invited fans from the audience to carry out humiliating acts for some extra cash to ultimately prove everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. One of those fans was a young 16-year-old Rob Van Dam, who was persuaded to step into the ring and kiss the $1 Million Man's foot for a juicy $100 bill. Rob carried out the act, and we're sure that money was certainly put to good use. Number 11. The Hardy Boys as Jesters. Enhancement talent can normally be used at any time for anything, even to open up doors for other wrestlers. Literally. At the 1996 King of the Ring, both Matt and Jeff Hardy hadn't quite reached the heights they would go on to during the Attitude Era. Here the two were dressed as court jesters, though someone should have warned them when Ahmed Johnson burst through the doors. A year prior to them becoming jesters, the Hardy Boys would have the unfortunate duty to carry in the 500+ pound King Mabel to the ring. Number 12. Lita and Victoria as the Godfather's hoes. Hey, we're not judging. We all gotta start somewhere in the wrestling business, and that somewhere could be right at the bottom as one of the Godfather's hoes. It was revealed that somebody was actually in charge of rounding up local women in the area to accompany the Godfather down to the ring as his hoes. Sometimes, however, no hoes would be found, and in their place, developmental talent such as Lita and Victoria would instead have to slip into their hoochie outfits for the night, sometimes on more than one occasion. And number 13. Dolph Ziggler as Kerwin White's caddy. Does the name Nick Nemeth ring a bell? No? Well, we're sure you'll remember the name Kerwin White, unfortunately. The ill-fated gimmick which saw Chavo Guerrero Jr. transform from a fiery Latino to a stereotypical middle-class white conservative Anglo-American. White was joined by his caddy, Nick Nemeth, who would go on to become both Nicky in the Spirit Squad and Dolph Ziggler. Thankfully, both gimmicks were short-lived. Well guys, that about wraps up this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to drop a like if you want to, subscribe if you haven't already, turn notifications on, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.